What is your best savings strategy? I hear you like inhaling deeply, like you're
I'm ready.
revving up for this.
Revving up.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm 26 and I'm a Learning and Development Program Implementation Manager. I make $100K per year.
Hi, I'm Becca. I'm 25. I'm an associate production manager in the soft goods home industry, and I make $80,000 a year. And we live in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, first question. So how did you first meet?
So we met freshman year of college.
Where?
In the bathroom. Because we both like to take showers at midnight.
Yep.
And we would, say hi to, like, we also took a class together, but we never spoke to each other in the class.
I complimented your green eyeliner, actually. I'm offended that you don't remember that.
No, I remember that too.
What is your rent? Is it average, low, high for your area?
Yeah, it's about $3,500 a month. So we pay $1,744, like 20-ish each per month. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's average for the area because we have a lot of good, like we have in-unit laundry, like we have a lot of nice amenities, but our rent did go up $1,000 this year, total per month, which was really brutal. So
yeah. We really milked out the COVID deal. We locked in that 2-year lease and, we decided to stay, but it did increase quite a bit. But even with that huge increase, it was still the best deal that we could find in our area with the amenities that we had. So I would say it's kind of average, I guess, but I think it's a great deal for what we have, even with that huge increase. All right, what was your financial upbringing like? How was money talked about growing up?
I feel like my financial upbringing was really comfortable. I feel really lucky that my parents, we were definitely, one of those families where it was like, water only, like when you go out to restaurants and things like that. My parents were very frugal, but, we were really lucky in that, I never wanted for anything, and we still like took family vacations and things like that. Yeah, I think overall it was really fortunate.
Yeah, I think we had a pretty similar upbringing. Same thing. I am very lucky that, we never had to struggle or, never felt any discomfort growing up. Although my parents are very, again, like you said, frugal. They're always clipping the coupons. My family helped me through college and really instilled very responsible financial practices in me. So I pay off my credit card every month, and I don't have any other debt. And I really appreciate that. And my parents actually, even to this day, will never tell me how much they earned, which it's kind of become an inside joke. But yeah, very lucky to, have a financial upbringing that has allowed for a comfortable life, but also has really instilled, like, again, those really responsible financial habits in both of us in a young age, which,
right.
I don't think I realized until now as an adult how valuable that upbringing was.
Seeing how other people manage their money. Yeah.
Right.
You don't realize. I think we're really similar in that way. Like we both are, not afraid to look for a good deal or, like ask it, always ask, if there's a late fee on something, always asking to waive it or what have you. But yeah, I think we're on the same page about a lot of things in that way, which is good.
Hopefully we make our parents proud. Shifting gears here, what are your biggest workplace struggles in your industry?
Interesting. I feel like workplace struggles right now, given the current economic climate, I think everyone is trying to cut costs across the board. Like right now, I know at work we have, of course, a big cost savings target that we're trying to hit for the end of the year. So I think that's, a challenge that our team is working on right now. So yeah, I think that. And then overall, I feel like, in like manufacturing, like fashion, soft goods, home, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing, like wherever you can like cut corners and, save money.
Yeah, everyone's margins are getting squeezed right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'd say for me, so I do work in the tech industry, and at the time of filming, it's been a rough couple of months with layoffs, and I guess the tagline is just like the macroeconomic environment, but specifically in tech. It's been interesting because I actually, I started out in recruiting and hiring, and, began my career in 2019. And then shortly after it was COVID. And it's just been this like oscillation of like hiring booms and then like layoffs. And we're kind of in one of those periods where we overhired. A lot of tech companies overhired in 2021 and some of 2022. So now we're kind of facing the consequences of that lack of planning, or just not even lack of planning, but I guess riding out the good times of 2021, like post-COVID, the immediate post-COVID world. So that's definitely been a struggle across the entire tech industry, has just been navigating those organizational changes that have had to happen in the past couple of months to, again, cope with the very volatile environment.
Everyone's trying to stay afloat.
Yeah. We're all just doing our best.
However they can. Is your salary at above or below market rate?
Interesting. So I guess it depends on like what you consider market rate, like market rate for your specific industry or across your job title, or for your job title across all industries.
Recruiter talk right now.
I'm sorry, I can't stop. For like, I think my job title, I would say it's above market rate. And I'm fortunate for that. In tech specifically, I would say it's probably average.
Yeah, like for your title and like for your, like, do you think like size of company, like, and everything too?
Yeah. Again, this begs the question of like, there have been organizational changes, and if you have to absorb more work,
right. Oh, that makes
your
sense.
role changes and the title doesn't, and the comp doesn't necessarily. Right. So, but in general, I think, I would say for my company size and the industry that I'm in, I'd say 100K is pretty average for like this type of HR role that I'm doing. But again, I pivoted into learning and development like less than a year ago. For a recruiting salary, at the level that I'd be at as a recruiter, it actually is a little bit on the lower end. So, yeah. What about you?
Something to take into consideration. I think it's at or above market rate for like the title, I believe. Or I don't know. I would say it's about at market rate. I think, you see job titles in similar industries on LinkedIn, and they're kind of similar, maybe a little bit higher. I think it's hard to, I don't know, it's hard to gauge, like, depending on like size of company. And I always think about how like so many jobs aren't even posted, so you aren't really quite sure how much you're making. But at least I know on my team, like everyone who's at the same level I am is making the same amount, which is really nice. I think everyone on my team, like at each respective tier, is making about the same, which is good. But yeah.
It's nice now that they post the job salary ranges,
right.
So that you can kind of gauge what market rate is, because before that law went into place, and actually I don't even know if it's fully in place. I think it
just in
might
New
be
York,
September.
Right? Yeah.
I think, or I don't even know. Some companies are posting, some aren't.
That's true.
They might have pushed it back, but
right.
Either way, before companies were posting the salary ranges, people really relied on maybe conversations that they had with friends, maybe conversations that they had with like a recruiter from a third-party agency to help them understand what market rate was. So it is really nice to have a little bit more control or visibility into what market rate actually is. And there are some great websites too. I know for the tech industry, I think it's called levels.fyi. It's this website that like will break down the different companies, like what is, I don't know, like a software engineer level 2 at Meta, like what is the range, like, and you can really get granular and look at it per company, per level. Right. So maybe they have that for fashion. I don't know.
I know, right? Like there has to be something more intuitive than like LinkedIn's,
Yeah.
And what do you call it? Like their career thing. Yeah.
How did you negotiate your salary / freelance rates?
So So I first got this job actually June 2020 of COVID. So it was kind of peak COVID, and I was furloughed from my last position. So, and I was really fortunate to find this role a month in, or a month or a couple months after. And I did push to negotiate. I feel you were there.
We're on
You
the
helped
phone.
me.
Hourly now.
We had multiple conversations about like the best way to push, because like the company had told me the range at my very first interview, and then at the end, when they offered me the job, they gave me like the highest possible range, but it still ended up being less than what I was making previously. So I really pushed them to try to meet that rate, and they unfortunately weren't able to. But at least I was glad that I like exercised that muscle of negotiating. But I think honestly, it was for the it ended up working out for me in the end, because while I was there, so I started in June, and then, so then for like year-end reviews, I got a raise, and then and then a year after that, so June 2021, I got a promotion, and I was making, significantly more than I definitely would have been if I had stayed at my previous role. So I think it worked out, but haven't successfully negotiated as of yet.
Negotiating like when you're in the company, I feel like is so much harder. Like negotiating a raise or like anything like that. I also haven't done that. But
what about you?
Yeah, I mean, when I first got the current job that I'm in, I don't think I negotiated as much as I would have coached someone else to. I kind of said like, I made a lot of mistakes, actually.
No, but like it's so hard. Like hindsight's 2020, though, right? Because you don't know like what you know now, especially as a recruiter.
Also, at the time, like I gave like what I thought would be like a really high salary.
Right.
Yeah, and then they were like, oh, okay, like that was like in the first recruiter screen call, and I was like, oh wow, like this is, if I actually got that amount, that'd be wild. And then like, when the offer rolled around and it was looking like they were able to get that, I
There's
don't
money
know.
on the table or something. But also you were changing industry, so it was still a significant, like,
I mean, in the
significant
structure
increase.
of, because I was at basically a company where my role was just a bit different. I had a base, and then I had commission, so it was a little bit different.
Right.
But I kind of was just like, oh, I just got a promotion at my current job, and I didn't actually ask for more money. I was just kind of stated that, and they actually did bump me up.
Right, because they like came from their own regard, and
which
they
was nice.
They offered to give you a little bit more, which is nice.
I don't know, even to this day, maybe I should ask. I don't know if that was just to keep me at the same to salary level as the other people who were the same level as me, or if they took my meager attempt at negotiating and was like, no, let's give her more.
They really wanted you. Well, I mean, they wanted you, so they.
I guess, yeah. But I mean, now having been on the other side so many times from recruiting, always negotiate, and there are ways to do it so tastefully. But I guess I just in the future would be a bit more methodical about it.
What is the most tasteful? How would you do it tastefully then?
I think, well, you want to say, okay, let me back up. Wait, so it depends on the stage of the interview process that you're in.
Because should you do it aren't you supposed to do it in the last, in the final round?
So if they give, if let's say they give you an offer, and let's say you're happy with that, but
either way you should
negotiate.
Still, right.
You could say, listen, appreciate this offer. At other companies that I'm interviewing at right now, it's looking like I'm gonna end up with offers at this range. Is there anything that we can do to make the decision easier for me? I really, again, state that you want to work at this company.
Right.
You're not just spinning their wheels. Just be like, hey, I really want to work here, but other companies that I'm interviewing at, it looks like, are going to make me an offer at this much. Is there anything that can be done to me in the middle? Something along those lines is what I would suggest. If you're at that stage where they have given you a verbal offer, I always say, wow, this really took a turn, this question. But I would say, from my perspective, don't wait until they've given you a written offer.
No, right, yeah.
You want to hear the verbal offer and then have those conversations so that the recruiter or whoever you're working with can go talk to the appropriate parties.
Got it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But like in an intro phone call,
You can not
it's
really
a different, like if you're at that stage, I wouldn't even like negotiate. I would just be very deliberate with the information that you give. Like try not to say a number first.
Right.
I feel like this advice is everywhere on like, you know, the like business TikTokers or Instagram reels, because I don't have TikTok. But, you know,
Facebook video.
Yeah, Facebook videos. But always ask the interviewer what the budget is or what the range is for the role, if you're in that first screening call.
Right.
Yeah. I love talking about this.
It's so hard though, because what if that range, you know, you're really interested in the position and they tell you the budget, but it's not like quite, because I've definitely been in that position before where you're really interested in the role, but the salary range is not where you want it to be.
Right.
And of course, like you're not going to say anything, like you said, because it's the first kind of, you know, screening call, but are you able to push, like, would you consider, I don't know, the best way to push back or?
You don't have to give an exact like number, but you can say, actually, like I was targeting this range. Is there any flexibility in the role? And if there's not, then it's up to you to kind of decide, like, is the opportunity worth maybe taking a pay cut or not getting as big of a bump as you would have wanted?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
In what ways is your job different than what you expected?
I think in general, like going into the HR field, I didn't realize how many different facets of HR there actually are. Like I said, I started in recruiting and now have pivoted into learning and development, which I, up until I guess fairly recently, didn't even fully understand the extent of what a role like that could entail. So I guess that's been most surprising about like just my journey in HR or like a people function. There are just so many different avenues that you can go. It's not just like employee relations or recruiting. There's like benefits, there's learning and development, there's compensation analysts, there are more technical roles. So yeah, I think that's really cool and has kind of surprised me.
Right, yeah, because coming from, you know, a purely recruiting background versus being an in-house, you know, recruiter, of course you're seeing all the different facets. And I think when most people think of HR, they only think of recruiting or recruiting and onboarding, you know, or you don't realize all the different things.
Yeah. What about you? What has surprised you about your role?
I feel like for me, something that was surprising was, you know, my first job was at a huge company, you know, corporate company, and then coming to where I am now at a much smaller company, at a startup where I was one of the first people on my team and we were really building the department from the ground up. I think that was really kind of interesting to see. You know, at the company I was at before, you know, roles are very clearly defined. You're very, you know, you can be very siloed in that sense too, because you're very focused on those specific things. But, you know, at a startup, you're wearing a lot of different hats. You're, you know, doing a lot more than what you might be doing at a different company. You know, for instance, before we had a technical designer that did all of the measuring and things like that. And where I am now, I'm the one, you know, individually measuring every single sample that we get in to make sure that the dimensions are correct and everything for production. So,
Do you like that? Like doing more?
I think yes. I think yes and no. I think there are some things, of course, it would be nice if someone else were to do them. But I think other things, it's really nice because you have, you know, you're a larger presence in the room. Like your opinion means a little bit more, you know, before being on a team of, you know, 65 people and being, you know, one of the lowest people, like being one of the, like, I guess, lowest rungs on the ladder. You're not really considered, but now, you know, I've been at my company for almost 3 years now, and you know, one of the first members of our team, and my boss and I have built a really you know, strong relationship. So I know she really trusts me, and I feel really grateful for that.
Yeah, I know we've talked about a lot, like the trade-offs between working at a big company and a startup or a smaller company, and I feel like especially for people starting out in their careers, it's great to have that. I mean, it's great to have both, but being at a startup and wearing many different hats, getting
Right.
exposure to so many different skill sets is so valuable.
100%.
But then, of course, there's something to be said for that big company experience too.
Both,
it's like
right.
you know how it should be done or whatnot. But there's also a lot more mobility in a smaller company
Right,
too,
that's
which I think
true.
we've both enjoyed.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point actually, because yeah, to that point, I think coming from going big to small really helped me because like you said, I knew exactly how, the, I guess the industry standard ways of doing things, and I was able to kind of establish those parameters a little bit more, which is better, but.
Definitely. How did you get your job?
I feel like I talked a little bit about this already, but oh boy. Yeah, I feel like I talked a little bit about this already, but I applied on LinkedIn. So I was furloughed like so many people were, March 2020 when COVID swept the world by storm. And I saw this job on LinkedIn, and then again, I feel really fortunate. So I worked in fashion, but pure fashion before, which of course was not doing well during the pandemic because, who's buying nice clothes to sit in your house. So pivoting into home, the home was really booming. Of course, everyone was nesting during this time. Everyone was, trying to improve their home life however they could. Yeah. So I applied on LinkedIn and I found this role, and I feel really fortunate in that, of course, like we had so many conversations about, the best way to kind of approach things and everything, but also there was this YouTube channel that I feel like gave me so many, gave me so many tangible examples of the best ways to, write thank you emails and the best way to respond to interview questions. She's called Self-Made Millennial. She's really incredible. And I subscribe to her newsletter and I still follow her and everything. And I feel like she gives really great career advice, like not only on how to get jobs, but of course, like how to continue to keep yourself marketable, especially in like a tough economic climate like we have now.
Yeah. And you got your job so quickly, again, after being furloughed. I feel like you say that you're so lucky or that it was this YouTube channel, but you need to give yourself a little bit more credit too, because it was your experience and the way that you present yourself and your skill set too. So
thank you.
Yes.
No, thank you. But yeah, what about you?
How did I get my job? So I saw the posting on LinkedIn, and I had been just like monitoring LinkedIn and the job postings for a while, and I saw that this company was hiring so much. And then I looked at any connections I might have at the company, and I saw that someone who went to our college worked there. So I reached out to her and just asked to jump on a call just to learn more about the company.
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, and this was before
2021.
Yeah, it was like fall of 2020. So
the recruiting process, right?
Yeah, so I had that call with her. She was like, "Oh, I'd be happy to like refer you. Should there be a role that comes up?" And then, later that year or like early 2021, there was a role for a technical talent associate, and I asked her to refer me. I also reached out to the job poster, and in the subject I was like, referral from so and so, this role, technical talent associate role, and then I like sent my resume, cover letter.
Smart to do that too.
Yeah, so they couldn't ignore me. They would have to tell me no if I wasn't a good fit, I guess. But yeah, I utilized my network a little bit and wasn't afraid to send a cold email, which is what I always encourage people to do.
Yeah, it's scary, but I feel like you have nothing. Yeah. You have nothing to lose. Worst thing that is going to happen is they're going to ignore you. Like,
yeah. Once you do it a few times, you're like, I have no dignity left. It's fine. No, you still have dignity, but it's less scary.
Yeah, you have it down pat. You email the recruiter, you email the hiring manager.
Yeah.
Cover all the bases.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. What are your long-term career goals?
Oh man. To earn a lot. First of all,
to be compensated financially.
Yes, of course. That goes without being said. Right. I have this conversation with my manager. My manager is awesome, and we have these monthly developmental conversations. And every time, I'm just so indecisive as a person. There's so many different routes that I feel like I could go. So I guess
No stone unturned,
yeah. So my long-term career goals, I guess, are just a bit more vague. Like I could definitely see myself staying in a people function and just bolstering my skills, like more laterally. Like,
Right.
you know, I do learning and development. I have the recruiting experience.
Right, you have, you're multifaceted in that way, right?
Right. Maybe like doing more
Generalist.
engagement, data analytics, or people analytics. Again, there's so many ways that you can go in HR. But I also could see myself going into more just like project management. Like I really loved working with the technical folk at my company. And technical, is that the engineers?
The technical folk.
I don't know. You weren't all engineers, but like the
flex
technical
different muscles.
Yeah,
right, and that
I
sort
really
of
liked
thing.
working with that
Right.
organization when I was recruiting for them and working with them and hiring them. So I think it would be cool to maybe like do some kind of project or program management within that space too.
Would that be creative enough, do you feel like, for you?
I don't know. I don't know. One thing I do like about my current role that I didn't necessarily get as much of in recruiting is that now it's like I'm designing these e-learning modules and like training programs, and sometimes I'm a little unhinged and I add Rihanna gifts into
Some fun memes.
into the payroll training module, but it's fine. Like it is fun to be creative. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it's like a give and take. You know, if a more like program or project management role would be creative enough, but who's to say? I don't know. There's a way to sprinkle it in there somewhere.
Right.
What about you? What is your long-term career goal?
I feel like long-term career goals, I think, like you said, you know, make a really nice, decent salary where I don't have to worry. Yeah. But I think that's, you know, we're very similar in a lot of ways, but I think in where we differ is that I feel like I've known for a really long time that I want to stay, you know, like freshman year of high school, I was like, all right, I want to work in the fashion industry. And I like picked out the colleges. I only applied to schools that had fashion programs, that sort of thing, like got a degree in fashion merchandising. And then, of course, like now I'm kind of in an adjacent field, I would say. Yeah. But I think long-term is to eventually go back to pure fashion. And I think and again, I think where I am now, like production, product development, supply chain, stay in kind of that same lateral and continue to progress upward that way. I've always been interested too, and I've had some interesting chats with people at work recently about, you know, like merchandising and buying and that sort of thing, just to explore, you know, different avenues. And I'm in pure production now, but I did product development previously. So I think there's a lot of kind of different avenues to take on, but I think that's the goal. Yeah.
I admire your decisiveness. But it is helpful because, you know, we're both planners, so it's helpful to know what you want to do long term, more or less, so that you can take the steps to get there.
Right. But also it's hard too because, you know, you, like I said, I would never work in home, you know, and then here I am working in home. So I guess, you know, never say never. You really don't know where you're going to end up.
Sometimes the path of least resistance is the best way to go, honestly.
Right.
Cool.
How do you handle feelings of professional envy?
Ooh. So I view it almost as like a good thing as long as you're not like acting maliciously on it. It's a signal that, oh, this person is at a place that I want to be or works
Something
in
to
a
work
position
towards, right.
that I want to be in. Yeah. I think especially for someone who's as indecisive as me, it sometimes is a really good indicator for myself to do a little introspection and figure out, oh, like I'm feeling a little envious towards this person. Does it mean that like I want to go into that field or do that job? So it's actually helpful sometimes.
That's true. Right. Because you see, you know, like what skills, like you said, maybe that's the industry I want to go into. Maybe that person has, you know, some skills that I don't have that I should, you know, be honing or something to that effect. I would agree. I feel like, it's just more fuel for the fire to continue to work harder and, you know, to continue to, develop your own self and to continue to kind of level up in any way that you can.
Yeah, totally. What healthy responses. Do you have any savings or investments? What is your best savings strategy? I hear you like inhaling deeply, like you're
I'm ready.
revving up for this.
Revving up. I think, yeah, something we talk about a lot. I think, of course, that same mantra of always, paying yourself first, having that money automatically be deducted into your savings account, and same thing for investments, having different buckets. So having, you're having some liquid savings going into a high yield, and then I have some investments. I have a Roth, I have a 401k with my company, and then I have some individual investments as well. And of course, like allocating certain amounts of those per month. I think best saving strategy is really, I mean, everyone says it, but you really just have to pay yourself first and put that money away first.
Yeah.
And then because I'm tracking so closely, whatever money I have at the end of the month, I'll transfer, wherever I want to. Maybe it'll go into high yield. Maybe it'll go towards vacation, right? We just, booked our Airbnb for a big trip, and that was a big expense that I hadn't anticipated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I plus one. Yes. I mean, the high yield savings account, 401k, Roth, individual investments, and like automating all of it so I don't even have to think about it, which, I mean, of course, acknowledging that is also a fortunate position to be in, to not have to think about it necessarily, and to be able to automate that and pay yourself first.
Of course, definitely.
But if you are able to do that, it's just like out of sight, out of mind. And yeah, I think as far as like investments go, like I have this conversation with my parents and my brother, because he likes to try to buy individual stocks, time it out, right. Everyone's shaking their head. But no, yeah, and you're not going to beat the market. Like there are people whose full-time jobs are to understand
and they don't
what's
know.
Happening. And I just saw this
idea.
post, maybe TFD posted it. I don't know. But like the percentage, what was it? Like the S&P 500, it like returns are
like
what,
7% a year or something like that. Yeah.
And like this hedge fund,
the market returns like 3 or something.
Yeah, it was like 2.9.
Right, exactly.
Come on, just law of averaging returns. Just
do the math.
Do it at the same time every month, and don't even think about it.
Right.
Yeah. All right, cheers. Let's hit the road.
See you later, bestie.
See ya.